Todd and Deborah. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Mastermind. I am coming to you live from Park City at the one and only KP's.
Hey guys.
What's up, KP?
So, you know this guy,
Oh,
right?
good. Yeah, I know everybody there. What's up, gang?
Cool, that
So,
house is.
so I have been here for, what is it, 2-3 days, and I need to go home and get some relaxation. Probably gonna sleep in for 2 straight days.
Best tacos ever, Jake Savage.
Best tacos ever. Just that's me, by the way. So guys, the topic today is how to build a leadership brand. We've got Greg Sher. Before I bring Greg on, and drum roll, Todd, anything you want to say to frame today's call?
First off, I just want to give a quick cheers to my Eagles on their Super Bowl victory. I am dressed up and we're talking about leadership. So I got, my Saquon Barkley jersey on because Saquon was definitely a great leader on the sidelines in the Super Bowl. And then I want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day and then give a public shout out of gratitude to my good friend Deborah Bird for reminding us all on social media to get dinner reservations, because this is the first time I've actually got an amazing dinner planned for my wife and I. Thanks to her, we're going to Uchi Sushi tonight. Can't wait to take her there, have the omakase dinner. And as always, I'm excited to learn on this call. I've met Greg a time or two, but followed you a lot. And I feel like we're going to have a lot of great information to unpack, and I'm excited for today. What do you think, Deborah?
I was going to say happy Valentine's Day. Wish you all love, self-love. And, if you just follow your Win by Noon planner, Todd, it literally tells you when the holidays are, so you can then plan ahead. So I'm glad I just helped execute verbally on our mortgage coach call 2 weeks ago what my planner told me to do. See how that works, guys? Check out Win by Noon.
It was like 3 weeks ago. Like, I was ahead of the time. I still could only get a 4:45 reservation, but I'm stoked with that because that's perfect for my age level.
Awesome.
Don't age yourself. All right, guys. So I have interviewed Greg Sher multiple times. If you want to learn more from this guy, I'll put links to those down below in the YouTube channel. I asked Greg to be here. First of all, I think he's one of the most important mortgage executives in the space for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, he's getting out there. Like, he is just getting on video. He's sharing his take. He's interviewing other leaders in the space. He's everything that I think, defines a leadership brand. Like, you always know what Greg Sher is thinking. I have a personal relationship, a business relationship with him. It's one of the things I love about him. Always knows what he's thinking. He's always pushing. He's always innovating. Welcome to the Mortgage Coach Trust Engine Friday Mastermind. What's up, brother?
Great to be here. What's going on, everybody?
So Greg, why don't you just, for anyone that's hearing you for the first time, just share a little bit about what your role is in the industry, and then we'll get into leadership brand.
So I'm a part of the leadership team at NFM Lending. We've been around 27 years. We're based in Baltimore. We're licensed everywhere but New York, coming off of a 2024 where we closed just above 17,000 units for around $7 billion in volume, which puts us in the top 12 or 13 of true retail platforms. I feel like we're a well-kept secret. I've been an originator. I've been a sole owner of a mortgage company before. And one thing I learned about both is that I don't belong in the middle of loans. I'm way too emotional. So I'm the front end guy. So I'm doing the fun stuff, right? Marketing, recruiting, business development, figuring out new ways for us to grow using technology, using influencers, doing a bunch of different things to shake the trees, to spur and innovate and excite, to get people to want to come work for us. Now, that's a role I've had for many, many years. I got here in 1998, and in 2002, I opened up my own company, had that for 7 years. And then 16 and a half years ago, I brought 106 of my employees back to NFM. So I've been head down, looking forward, plowing ahead, just focused on NFM for a very long time. And as I developed a closer relationship with the late Dave Stevens a couple of years ago, it really gave me a lot of confidence. The more I learned from him about the industry and the issues, and put a lot of wind beneath my wings to start stepping out and saying the things that I thought that a lot of people were thinking but didn't say for various reasons. Maybe they don't have a following, or they feel like no one will listen to them, or they don't have the courage to step out, because it does take courage, right, to make bold statements and to be bold. So I started to do some of those things about 2 years ago, and the catalyst, the impetus for it was I did a post one day, Dave, where I challenged some of our biggest names in the IMB space, names that everybody would know in 2 seconds if I mentioned them, the leaders of the bigger companies, to step up and speak about price gouging when it comes to credit, speak up about the climate of interest rates, speak up about enforcement in the CFPB and how they were going about how they address that. And so when I asked these leaders to speak up, nobody responded. It was as if nobody was listening. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a crack at this. This was about 2 years ago, and I'm going to start to talk about the issues that are important to our industry. I'm going to start to represent the little person or the person that's not in that top 2% of leadership. I call them the 98%, the underbelly of our industry. That is the engine that keeps this thing going. So the more I spoke, the more it seemed to land, the more followers I got, the more people were encouraging me, supporting me. Now, not always. Plenty of people have gotten in my face, and that's fine too. And I welcome that. But that sort of was the springboard from which I grew the courage to be where I am now, where I'm in the top 10, I think, of the most followed people in mortgage. I have 34,500 followers roughly, and my posts have gotten around 6 million impressions in the last 12 months. So that's kind of a summary.
It's pretty awesome, bro. So, I always say, while technology is coming, technology is not going to replace loan officers, but loan officers that leverage technology will replace those who don't. And people that have a brand, Greg is a mortgage executive, so he chooses to build that brand in LinkedIn. As loan officers, most loan officers are building brands on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, but if you have a brand and if you are creating value at scale, leveraging technology, you will always have a seat at the table. Do you agree with that statement, Greg?
I would take it one step further. Of course, I agree with that statement, but I'd go as far as to say with where this business is headed, if you're not out there branding yourself and you don't have a persona online, you're either not going to be relevant anymore in 3 years or your market share is going to be severely diminished. That's how strongly I feel about it.
D. Bird,
And
you
you-
want to jump in on this at all?
I would say on like an asterisk, as long as your advice and service can back up what persona you put out there is important. And a lot of times I see when I'm meeting with clients, they don't always have a marketing problem. It's usually a strategy problem of what to do with all of these views. And the views and impressions don't matter if you don't convert them and they don't engage with you and they don't, take the next step. So, I think it helps you become better. You just want to make sure that your offline and online are congruently always looking to give the best advice and be the best in the market center that you serve.
For sure. And I think we have to talk about two different things here. Like I'm B2B, I'm not B2C. So there's different rules for originators trying to get in front of clients and consumers. I'm not talking to clients, I'm talking to the industry. So at some point, Dave, we want to delineate between the two and what it takes to win at both.
Yeah, good point. Todd, anything you want to jump in on or questions you want to ask Greg before we drill down on this topic?
Well, I'm still stuck on the fact that you called out all the industry executives and they were all silent, right? Oftentimes I see industry executives, I think, putting energy in the wrong direction. And here you are putting energy in the right direction and not getting the support that, really is required out there. And so I do appreciate the fact that you're putting this stuff out there and that you're real and, giving information that transparently I'm not getting anywhere else, but I'm getting from you.
I appreciate that. And, I think some of it is just where we are in the evolution of the business, meaning that a lot of the owners of the big companies have already made it. There are no excuses, but they're kind of already there, right? They're just protecting what they have or focused on their mission. But there's a greater good that we need support around. And so what I find is if I name the top 5 lenders right now, and we looked at the CEOs, other than Terry Schmidt at Guild, who does a great job, I think, of showing that she's a leader that stands for what's right. I don't see anybody else ever. I don't know where they are. They're worried about their companies. Some companies it seems, and there are two that come to mind. I'm not going to take any shots at anybody, of course, but two companies where the leaders pretty much all they do is talk about about their accomplishments and their headlines and buildings that are being named after them or shovels that they're putting in the ground to build a new state-of-the-art facility for their own people. Like, we get it, but you're icons in the industry, and there are a lot of headwinds. We need your voice. So
So
that's what's
Greg,
up.
so let's try to keep most of it focused on how loan officers can build leadership brands and leaders, producing managers, should do it. So let's get into some. Before we get into how-tos, I do want you to share your vision on All of Us. That's something that you're super passionate about. Want to make sure that you get a chance to share that whole vision and that mission of what All of Us means to Greg Sher, why you started the mission, and what you hope to see it happen over the next couple of years.
Let's put that aside because it's going to be disjointed if we go from this to that back over to the yellows, and I want to keep people engaged, Dave. So if you'll let me just move that to the side for a minute and just qualify that I had a hand in building the first ever influencer division in the mortgage industry 4 years ago. NFM did it. My company did it for the first time ever. We brought in a guy who's a licensed originator with 1 million followers. His name is Scott Betley. His handle is That Mortgage Guy on TikTok. And brought him in, brought in several other influencers, and built this division with the idea that we would leverage their online brand, talking about purchase transactions and people they were able to make loans for, and all these great stories that they were conveying on their socials that were generating leads. I thought, hey, if I just put a group together, call it this, and build a robust system behind it to support it on the administrative side, we could really be cooking with grease. So just quickly, and then this I think qualifies me to talk about this idea, Dave, of branding yourself to the consumer. We've generated around 80,000 exclusive purchase leads from these verticals: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Reels. And when I say generated them, I mean Scott Betley, That Mortgage Guy. He'll make a video about 590 score that he was patiently waiting to and assisted to get to a 680. And here's this picture of this happy homeowner. Like, that resonates with the people watching, and they click a link and they basically apply or ask for more information. That's happened 80,000 times since we launched the influencer platform, and we've closed over 700 million in volume from that since inception in the 4 hardest years that we've had in quite some time. And just some really quick metrics: of the 80,000 people, 97% of them indicated they wanted to purchase a home. 84% of them did not have a realtor yet. And of the 84% that didn't have a realtor, 92% raised their hands in the questioning process and said, yes, I'm open to being introduced to one. So the picture I'm painting is one where there's an ability to get to the consumer much earlier on in the funnel. And that's where this business is headed. And that's why I make the statement that I make, that if you don't have a brand, your market share is going to, if it doesn't dwindle, someone else is going to start eating at that pie because of Gen Z, and because this number is growing. 2% of all applications 4 years ago, then 9%, then 15%, then 25% last year. Before we know it, it's going to be 50%. And this is the first cohort of digital natives. They want to act and behave on this device right here. And so we have to be ready to meet that moment. And that's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for being a First Home IQ founding friend. Greg was one of the first people to buy a t-shirt for $1,000 when we rolled that out. He's got a lot of passion for connecting with Gen Z and connecting with the next gen home buyer. Deborah Bird, anything you want to add to that or ask Greg?
I was going to say, if you're not first, you're last. I was the first to get that $1,000 t-shirt. So I'm right there with you, Greg.
You were
Most
number one.
expensive
You were number one.
t-shirt.
She's not too competitive. Not too competitive.
Yeah. So Greg, anything with, like, fast forward to today with the whole TikTok ban, and, just even my clients alone, they were freaking out that they were so dominated in just one platform that if it disappeared, what did that do to the business? And has it impacted your influencers now with the algorithm changes on TikTok?
Short term, there would be an impact. Longer term, it's not about, all TikTok is a vehicle. That doesn't just, that does not quell or stop the movement. And the movement is that people communicate online, and that people, the consumers, the ones that buy, are scrollers. So yeah, would it be a short-term hiccup? Yeah, but we never panicked for a moment. And beside the fact that we saw a transformation on TikTok from short form holding value to longer form holding value. And you know why that is? That's because there is a financial literacy gap. I'm going to speak right into the center of Dave Savage's soul right now. There's a massive crisis going on when it comes to financial literacy, and that's why people want more of this material and longer material. And I think long term, because of that, the winner is going to be YouTube. Now, I know several people that are on that platform that really crush it. Jennifer Beeston is a very good friend of mine at Guaranteed Rate, and she's incredible. I mean, she closes 250, 300 million a year in her sleep, mostly veterans, from this incredible information that she's throwing out into the world. And I think that's where a lot of this will gravitate over towards. And there are other things. Threads has started to pop up more. I think Instagram tends to deliver the best quality lead. Now, that's just my perception from 80,000 leads worth of data, right? Being able to chop that
You
up.
think
But
more so than YouTube? You think those leads
no,
are?
no. I'm sorry.
Oh,
No,
okay.
let me distinguish. No, I don't. I think I don't have enough data to say, personally. I've listened to Jen, and we Win the House You Love. I don't know if you know
Yes.
Kyle Seagraves. He works for NFM now.
Ooh,
So, and
wow.
he's amazing too. Um, but I've not seen enough data to be able to really break that down. But I can say that I've seen a lot of data between TikTok and Instagram, and while you can get more people to raise their hand on TikTok, the quality of the lead that comes from Instagram is about 2 to 3 times better.
What about Facebook in that mix? Facebook versus Instagram and TikTok?
We don't get a lot of leads from Facebook. What seems to work on Facebook is building communities, right? Having private access, invite only, intimate groups. And I've seen a lot of that work out. We don't currently do that, but
Yeah.
it's also
No,
not Facebook's not a focus.
yeah. No, I've interviewed a lot of people. In fact, Deborah Bird's sister, Denise Donahue, is very successful with her Facebook group and very successful with YouTube and Instagram. Um, is 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 Denise primarily Instagram and YouTube, or how would she look at her market?
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. She's not big on TikTok. She doesn't even like, I'm like, how do you not like TikTok? If you like Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels, they're just 2 or 3 week old TikToks. But she just focuses more on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The kind of the downfall with YouTube was that it was more challenging to really build a community because of the lack of like DMing and but they're changing that. They're adding community. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in the next year.
Hey, Greg, real quick. So when I think of short form, I'm thinking a minute or less. And then when I think of long form, I mean, that's pretty subjective. I mean, that could Joe Rogan, 2 to 3 hours could be, most of the content I do is an hour. For mortgage professionals that are trying to create that longer form content, what are the different categories you'd put that into, and what
That's a
leadership?
great question. Thanks for asking that question. Short form to me is 8 seconds to 15, 20-ish. Longer
Okay.
form is a minute to 2 minutes,
Oh, wow.
right? Because you have
Oh,
to keep in mind, in order to build this brand, one of the main key components, if you're a loan officer listening right now and you're like, you know what, I'm going to dip my toe in the waters, you've got to be consistent. You really have to commit to this and do it multiple times a day. And so you can't do 3 hour long form, 3 times a day. It's impossible. You'd never get anything done. But a minute to 2 minutes, and a lot of storytelling. People like to hear about stories, or look at Kyle Seagraves, what he's able to do with Win the House You Love. I mean, he talks about products and FHA and what it takes to qualify for an FHA loan, and how do you get prepared for that. It really resonates with the viewership. Now he only does it once a week because it's an hour It's an hour long. It takes a lot of preparation to get it all right and to integrate the slides and things like that. But from the lens of a loan officer wanting to produce a brand, I'll give a couple of pieces of advice from what I've learned. The two biggest challenges that we see are, I want to look perfect. What kind of great equipment do I need, right? You don't ever have to look perfect. Nobody cares how you look. All you need is a phone. So let's get rid of that. The second thing, which is just an excuse, is what is my content going to be like? Oh my God, what am I going to talk about, right? And so what I like to advise people to do is to, I call it their passion lane. Everybody in the mortgage business that's listening to this right now, there's something you're really good about, or something you care immensely about, or stories that you can tell that really hit home with you, and you could tell 10 different versions of that. My recommendation would be, for the first 50 days, the first 50 videos. Post every day, post from your passion lane. Don't care what you look like, how you sound, or anything like that. Just get out there and do it. And most likely, and what I've heard from many, many people who have done this, the first 100 videos are most likely going to be so disappointing. You're going to reach this point where you feel like throwing in the towel. But if you can push through that, it is going to lead to a reservoir of opportunity. And it doesn't matter. Another misnomer, Dave, you have to be young. You have to be beautiful. That's bullshit. That's not even true, not even close to true. You just have to be doing it. We have a guy who's 55 years old, super successful. He's made a lot of money, done really well as a branch manager. He decided, you know what? I see what you're doing with the influencers. I'm going to just start to do it. His handle is Buy Not Rent Guy. That's BUY, not Rent Guy, all right? And he started to do it. And after his 80th video, he's like, oh, why am I doing this? I look like such a fool, and no one's even watching. Well, he broke through. And what started to happen, because he stuck with it, is that everywhere he went, people started to recognize him. Anytime he walked into a real estate office, realtors who he didn't even know would say, oh my goodness, you're Buy Not Rent Guy. How are you doing what you're doing? Can you show me how to do what you're doing? And so creating a brand, even if it doesn't lead to any consumer engagement, what it is going to do for your business will be mind-blowing. That's facts. And I've seen it over and over again. And it doesn't matter what you look like or how old you are. You just have to get out and do it. It's not complicated.
Well, and I'll throw that out there, right? Deb keeps challenging me to keep recording my walk and talk videos. And, I literally flew into Detroit for like 6 hours yesterday to do a keynote on exactly what to say. 100 mainly realtors in the room, handful of loan officers and title folks. And it was interesting to have a few people come up to me and say, gosh, I watched this video. It totally resonated with me. And it was on the mortgage side and on the real estate side. And, I don't think my stuff is that great. Always one of my eyes is closed over the other, typically wearing a baseball hat because I'm out exercising. And it's me. It's probably what you're talking about in that passion lane, right? I used to just throw a bunch of stuff out there, and Renee Rodriguez said, well, yeah, you could go viral for the wrong thing. And I was like, that's a good point. And then, went and consulted with Deborah, and she kind of helped me fine tune what the voice was going to look like going forward. And it's definitely been a good journey. If I don't have a video for her team to post at Plug and Play, then she's like, dude, where's my video? And so, yesterday was a good day, lots of airport time. So a lot of videos, Deb, were good.
I mean, I don't know,
Awesome.
Todd, I've only met you a couple times, but I know that you're wildly successful. And I know Win by Noon is a real thing, and you've changed a lot of lives. For me, as someone from the outside looking in, I would just like to know what those stories are about. Like, how did you turn the corner? How did you become this person that was so confident? Like, who helped you get where you are as you try and help other people get where they want to go? You could probably do 10 videos on that, and that would really land. So
All right, I
you
like it. It's
obviously,
going on the
you have,
list.
yeah, I mean, I don't mean to give you more homework, but you obviously have a tremendous amount to give, and I don't see you out on LinkedIn very much. I don't remember you really ever engaging in my posts or anything like that. You probably have a few times, but
I'm a
would love to
lurker
see
on
more from
LinkedIn.
you.
I'm a
Huh?
lurker on LinkedIn. I'll
Yeah.
commit to be more engaged there. I've given up Plug and Play my LinkedIn login so they can start posting my videos there. So it's definitely be something I'm going to invest some more time into.
Yeah, cool. You got a lot to share. I'd love to hear about your journey.
Appreciate that.
Hey, Deborah, I do want to spend a few minutes on LinkedIn and get everybody's take on that and how loan officers should prioritize that. But after that everything Greg said, is there anything you want to call out or any questions?
Yeah,
you want to ask?
when you had mentioned the short form versus long form, this is where having a content strategy and a true like funnel strategy, like what am I posting? Is this top of funnel activity? So how I like to keep it simple is your short form content is really for reach and engagement. Like you're trying to build awareness from someone who either is problem unaware or could be even problem aware. But that's what I like from a strategy standpoint of short form versus long form is more building authority and conversion, which could be, getting them to see a 30-second reel that then because of that reel, they click on your link in your bio to register for a webinar that you're hosting for first-time home buyers. And so it's about the bigger play of how to get people from platform to ultimately your email distribution list. Because guys, make no mistake, and I run a social media marketing company full time. This is all I do, eat, breathe, and sleep. But it is rented attention. You do not own it. So you may own your brand, but you don't own the distribution channel unless you have a strategy to back it up of getting people from interested or aware to eventually your CRM. But then you also need a strategy once they go into your CRM. So, just make sure that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And again, I believe you should be everywhere every day, maybe not physically everywhere every day, but at least know the strategy of what are you posting? Why are you posting? Who is it for? Why should they care? And how's it going to help them?
Wow, there was a lot of wisdom in those words. There's
And can
a
I just say to Greg's
3-minute piece of gold right there. Like we'll have to create a little nugget. Go back and listen, guys. Like that was
Well,
26 minutes in. And Greg, anything you want to call out in that?
I think Deborah wanted to add something.
yes, I was going to say to your point, Greg, on the camera setup, my goodness, that is probably one of the most frequent things that I hear, or challenges / excuses of, well, I don't have $15,000 to spend on this big studio. And I'm like, do you realize there are 8-year-olds who are creating content that are able to retire with dirty clothes on the floor in the corner of their room? And they do just fine. So don't overthink. Obviously, it needs to be professional. Sound quality is important. Lighting is important, but don't let that stop you from hitting record and doing the reps so that you get better over time.
Yeah, for sure. Dave, with regard to LinkedIn, I've not been able to get past the idea that it's B2B. Like I don't think you get a lot of people looking for mortgages on LinkedIn. I could be wrong. Deborah, I'd be curious to know what your take is, but I think that my opinion is we should look at LinkedIn as a way to establish your credibility as a professional to people around you in the industry, right? Because there's a lot that can be gained by being close to a Todd or a Deborah or a Dave Savage, right? And you guys are here, right? So if you're a loan officer and you're able to develop deeper roots, it will lead to other connections, right? It's not going to be a direct hit to a consumer, but you're going to be able to open up opportunities, potentially put people in rooms that they otherwise wouldn't be in. And that's what I would look at LinkedIn as a strategy to get closer with the people that are doing the hard work in the business. So it's not directly business to consumer, but it should be an ingredient that people integrate as part of their playbook.
Well, I haven't done an interview exclusively on how to win in LinkedIn as a mortgage advisor, but it's come up in a lot of different interviews and the typical use cases of why mortgage professionals are. And by and large, it's producing managers because there's, hey, leadership brand for recruiting loan officers. But where I am hearing it have a B2C impact is one, they are targeting what I call the wealth team, CPAs, financial planners, realtors, people on a geo basis. So they're creating content around building wealth with real estate and connecting with CPAs, financial planners. And then the other scenario that's come up, and I think it might have been Gina Myers, who's a big producer in your market. Greg, do you know who Gina is?
I do know Gina. Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in my last interview with her, she mentioned that when she closes a loan, she follows people on social. And when there are people that, that are professional and on LinkedIn, there's a whole strategy around making sure that, we're connecting with them on LinkedIn. And then I'm showing up as a pro on LinkedIn.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Deborah, do you agree with, what are your thoughts on what I was saying about how loan officers can use LinkedIn? Do you agree with that? Or do you think it's a place where you can pick up folks that want to buy homes?
No, I like the strategy of networking with other business professionals like your financial advisors, divorce attorneys, estate attorneys, and building those relationships. And in fact, I cringe, or it gives me the ick to use the Gen Z terminology when people try to force a video that maybe is more appropriate for TikTok or Instagram Reels, and then they put it on LinkedIn just because they're trying to hit the easy button and they don't understand context for each platform. And it really doesn't land well from the professional setting, which is, the focus of LinkedIn. That's one of the biggest differences, is that it is more B2B. Not that some of your clients, obviously anyone who is in that space could be a potential, home buyer, but I like to play that game on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok, and leave the B2B relationships to LinkedIn.
And if you're going to mail it in, don't bother. I know a guy at a big lender, does about 60 million in the Baltimore market. Every post of his is the same post. Closed another loan. Here's my volume for the. Nobody cares, man. Like, show me some pictures of you and some happy clients. Take a video. Like, be authentic. It just, if you're gonna mail it in, don't bother, because it actually hurts your brand. It hurts your image and your opportunity.
Can I ask
in my opinion.
your opinion? Because part of the reasons why I got off of LinkedIn and I wasn't as active is because I don't originate anymore. I gave up originating back in 2018. And every time I would get on it, I would get the same automated messages from recruiters of mortgage companies trying to recruit me. And it was very similar messaging, very similar frequency. And I was like, for the love of God, lose my name, my number. Like, I'm no longer an originator. And it just really kind of turned me off. It's very spammy. And I started to respond back with, if this is what you send to everybody else, then please don't contact me, because I'm special. I want to feel special, right? Not dramatic at all. But any thoughts on these auto easy button AI messaging services that could actually hurt the brand?
I see less and less of that.
Hmm.
But it's also partly because I've been very outspoken about those kinds of things. So, one of the soapboxes that I sat on was every time before a huge conference, when someone saw I was on the attendee list, they would send this canned, impersonal, laundry. It's the biggest email ever, so impersonal about, and at the end, how would you like to take a meeting with me? And people are lazy. Like, that's a lazy approach. That, I'm not sure. I know it's a numbers game. If you're a vendor, you want to try and get in front of as much people as you can. But I would make the argument, and this goes for any aspect of trying to get business. If you went deep on 10 people before contacting them, meaning scour their socials, figure out where they started their career, what their family's like, what makes them happy, and you approach them from that aspect, you would get more engagement and a better result than if you sent 500 template emails to 500 people you don't know. So it's all about, everyone on this call is really good at developing relationships. This is not a complicated game. Like, it's all has the same thread. How deep can you go with people? How much can you relate to who they are and where they are in their journey? And that's how you get better in business and in life. Right? Is how deep are you willing to go, and are you going to be lazy and take shortcuts? That's a shortcut, Deborah. I mean, I can't stand that. Obviously, nobody likes that. The only thing more annoying than that is trigger leads.
So so let's talk about leadership brand and make sure that we get a chance to define that. What to you, Greg, what is a leadership brand? And I do want to go around. I want to hear Todd's version, Deb's version. Anyone listening to this, if you want to share something in comments, please do.
I think anyone can be a leader. So you don't have to have a C-suite title or even have manager in your name. I believe that you should speak from a place of being educated and potentially passionate about what you're talking about, and then you can grab your slice of the pie. And there's a lot to that. It's not just you out there being a thought leader. There's an equally big opportunity, and this is a total layup for anybody, just to get inside of other people's posts that resonate with you so that you can begin to grow your brand and become more visible and be seen as someone that has strong, educated opinions about things that matter to all of us. So I think the number one thing, Dave, is consistency, engaging with others, and trying to educate yourself. I'm not always right. Sometimes I make mistakes, and I got to own that. There's a lot of statistics and a lot of things going on, and sometimes I don't go as far as I should go with an opinion, and I will retract or say, you know what, I've reconsidered that, and that's okay too. It's okay to admit you're wrong or to show vulnerability. That's super important as well. So those would be the couple of things that I would say you want to tackle if you want to be viewed as a leader. And the easiest thing you can do is today start following all of us on this call. Like if you're not following us on LinkedIn, go and follow us. We're all pretty active, to varying degrees. And if it's not us, 5 other people, 10 other people, and start to get in those threads to their posts, the ones that really move you. Start to make statements, and what you'll see is other people are going to start to engage with you, and that's when the thing is going to take on life. And that's where it all begins. It all begins with action, right? You're not just going to overnight say, I'm going to open up this book or listen to what Greg said about being a leader, and all of a sudden, in an hour, I'm a leader. You got to do the work.
Yeah, I love that. Deborah, what does it mean to you? And then Todd.
Well, when I think of leadership, I mean, you're inspiring action by aligning like the bigger mission. It's like that pulling force that people just align with and they gravitate towards you. And I think you have to be okay with owning your unique perspective. And although the intention and motive is pure as you're, sharing your bigger mission, it may not align with everybody. And that's okay. Like you're not going to, but you should be leading and attracting your tribe and ultimately inspiring action based off what you're sharing. And then kind of going back from our interview last week, I'm thinking about with Sean, is the content that you share, is it worth making a remark about? Are you so unique and so valuable that it's not just noise, that's common advice that now people can just put into ChatGPT and get an answer for? It's like, is there conviction behind it? Do you own it? Do you believe there's like an energy where it's you, it's not the fake you. So to me, that's leadership, branding, inspiring action through shared vision and mission.
Ooh, good.
Dang, those are both really good. It makes me think of what I learned from one of my mentors, Daniel Harkavy, who says that self-leadership precedes team leadership, right? And so I like what you said, Greg, is that, everyone is a leader, and you're starting by leading yourself, right? A lot of you are leading a small team, a processor, maybe, maybe you've got an assistant, you're leading at home, right? You've got maybe a family, others that are looking up to you. You've got coworkers who are watching, what you do. And, I think the word authenticity oftentimes is overused. However, I think the leaders that I look up to and I follow, right? So I've been kind of brainstorming here as Greg kind of challenged me, like, hey, how did I get here? And I just I got a pretty long list of people who've inspired and mentored me. Some for real, like, one-on-one real engagement. A lot of them have been people that I've just watched online and learned from, read their books, watched their videos. And so I do think that there's this opportunity for us all to have this voice out there where we talk about, what we do to lead ourselves, and then how that can help us in leading others as well as we go through this journey together. Because, the bottom line is this: I think we all have something to say, we all have something to learn from each other. And I think that, Greg called out consistency, right? Consistency is really important. Deb, you said inspire. I think inspire is a challenging one for me, because I always say, gosh, what am I going to say that's going to inspire someone? But then every once in a while I'm surprised, right, when I get these comments on the stuff that I put out there. And so I would just I would encourage you all to think about, sort of the challenges that we've talked about here, all of us today, and think about what can you do differently going forward to have a voice. And again, you don't need 1 million followers on TikTok to have an impact. So just think through what you can do today, just in your own small little way that can move the needle.
That's really great. It's really great. What I find inspires people, Todd, is moments of adversity that we go through. So many people are out there struggling. And if you can share your journey and struggles that you've been through and how you got through even a particular one, what it meant to you, what you learned from it, what others can learn for it. And then at the end, hey, if you're out there struggling, do these things, do these three things,
Yeah.
right? Whatever they are, be honest with yourself. Get with someone who you know loves you and will tell you the truth. Ask them how you're showing up. Whatever those things are, right? I'm just grabbing right now, but I understand what you're saying though. You're like, if someone's like, Todd, inspire me, you're like, who am I to inspire anybody? I'm just Todd living my best life, right? But to get where you got to, it wasn't just all smooth air, man. I'm positive there was a lot of turbulence in your life at some point. Do you ever talk about that stuff? I mean, I know I'm not interviewing you here. I'm just saying that's the kind of stuff that would really hit and land where people would be really, really motivated and inspired.
I totally agree. You know, for a long time, I was embarrassed about the fact that, you know, I was flat broke in 2010, and I actually have found that now I've been on this journey to build wealth, and you know, I'm in a pretty dang good place right now. And so, you know, just talking about what it was like back then and how I felt, you know, the
Oh
fact
my
that I
God,
had,
that's amazing.
you know, at the end of the month, I'd have two credit cards that I would have to tell my wife, you know, all right, you can spend, you know, $100 on this one and, you know, $75 on this one for groceries till I get paid, because I got paid once a month. And, you know, what that was like. And it's a lot of fun now that I'm doing the first Home IQ 10 weeks of financial literacy. I'm weaving those stories in as I'm teaching these kids. And there's a lot of adults. It's 50% kids and 50% adults on the Zooms that I've been doing. And it's, I have no doubt that those are the stories that are going to resonate, because I think we all feel it's one thing to see success, but people don't see what it takes to, you know, what it takes to get there for sure.
Mm.
And
How I hit rock bottom and what you can do to not be there as long as I was,
Yeah, that's a good
you
one.
know?
Look at you title it
so,
up.
I mean,
so
I look at everything in the context of a LinkedIn post. So that'd be an incredible one.
that would do well. So I'm going to put a link to Todd's. He's doing a series of programs for First Home IQ, speaking to both families at the same time. You know, he's let his database know that we're doing first time home buyer workshops and inviting families to get, you know, home ownership readiness. So link down below to the whole program that Todd's putting together. Um, you know, so I mean, I think a leadership brand is just as simple as being valuable on social media. You know, at the end of the day, that's it. Like when I founded and started the YouTube channel, it was coming out of the meltdown, and I wanted to bring as much value to loan officers as I possibly could, and I just came up with the idea of inventing or interviewing top producers, and then putting that on social media, and it would be valuable. And through value comes inspiration. Not everything you do is inspiration, but I would really push everybody. What could you do, given your model, given where you're at geographically, given your personality, given your passions? How can you be valuable, you know, on social at a whole? What, any thoughts on that, Greg?
Well, I'm just thinking about you right now, honestly, and how much I appreciate what you've done in your career and all the adversity that you've come through. I know I'm not answering your question, but I literally had this going through my mind right now because I've read the things that you've posted about, you know, being dyslexic and having, you know, having to fight through a lot on your own, man. I mean, talk about an unbelievable success story and someone who, you know, rose up, you know, despite any obstacles or difficulties. And then not just that, but what I really think about when I think about you is someone that built, bar none, the best tool in mortgage and mortgage coach. And I'm not saying this because I'm on this, okay? You know, I'm very honest, Dave. Okay. Mortgage coach is by far the absolute greatest tool that loan officers could ever have, and it will pay for itself 20 times. That's a fact. That's not my point. My point is that you were part of an acquisition and could have easily gone off into the sunset in your nice home out there and done whatever with your family, but you didn't. You've never worked harder. You've never shown more care for the business. You're now in this chapter of your career trying to help solve the financial crisis by engaging and motivating an era of first responders, which you coined. I mean, who the hell in this business cares as much as you do? And I honestly want to thank you for that. And so I can't even remember what your question was, but I'm just no. I think about
I'm blushing.
No, I think about adversity and being a leader. That's the mark of a leader. You want to talk about a leader. A leader is someone who leads when they got nothing to prove. They don't have to. Like, you could have easily just cashed in your chips and gone away. But here you are trying to help an entire industry out to deal with this next wave of consumer. It's pretty huge. And I want to thank you on behalf of a lot of people.
Well, thank you, Greg. It means a lot to me. Love what I do. And I do think to have the type of energy and excitement to do what I do, it's 60 years old and having some of the success I've had, it just comes down to being on a mission and believing in that mission, that you can make a difference and that your voice matters and you have the ability to help people. So I would push people to get on a mission, whatever that mission is. Greg is clearly on a mission. Like something clicked. You've always been on a mission, but something clicked and now you're on a mission. You're using social media technology to influence, help people, and you're delivering value.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah.
But it's
So
it's not. I'm not doing it alone, right? The All of Us movement, which I told you I would table and come back to. It really came from that explanation I gave you earlier about how I got started and how I really stepped out when I called on other leaders to speak up and nobody did, right? So, but if you wanted to know what the absolute catalyst was that made me have this epiphany, I attended the Brokers Action Coalition. They had a seminar or a conference rather in DC. And even though I'm a lender, Brian View invited me, and Katie Sweeney and Brendan McKay were so welcoming to let me in the room. And I watched them speak, and I was standing there observing, and they were talking about veterans being shortchanged when it came to mortgages and benefits, and people educating them on DD-214s and credit report costs skyrocketing, and trigger leads. And I thought to myself, my goodness, why is there so much divisiveness between brokers and lenders? What is this? We're all fighting for the same thing, right? And then I thought, well, we're fighting for the same thing in the name of the consumer. That's why we're all in the business. It's all about the consumer. You know what? It's all of us. We're all trying to get to the same thing. So let me have this rallying cry around all of us. And so I came up with the hashtag that's been used an awful lot, unexpectedly, sort of by accident, by default, because other people wouldn't speak up. So that was the answer to your earlier question, Dave, about how all of us was born.
love that. I see in the background right below that 21 Laws of Leadership. Is that John Maxwell's 21 Laws or what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, John Maxwell's. You like John Maxwell, don't you?
Of course we love John Maxwell.
Who doesn't?
I'll take it off the wall for you.
No, I did not.
I,
I did ask because I wanted you to take it off the wall. I
Well, I'm going to
asked,
send it to you. I'm going to send this to you.
please.
Um,
Let
he's
it-
great.
he's incredible. Give us a close-up real quick.
He's a beast. It's hard with this camera to really get a close-up. Oh, let's see what I did, man.
I'm sorry to do that to you, Greg.
These fancy cameras are just so difficult.
We're all good.
Yeah, anyway.
So I just want to throw something out here because we're, we're in the final 1/6 almost of what's going on here. And I want to say that this has been a conversation today that's really made me think. We do a lot of these interviews and I kind of get in the flow and it's, where kind of the motions are going. And I love, Greg, that you're kind of challenging us all. You're giving us different ways to think about it, not just from B2B, B2C, right? Leadership. And so I want all of you to really think through as you're sitting here, listening to this final 10 minutes of our conversation, whether you're watching this live or listening to the recording, is, what are a couple of your big takeaways? And then how can you take action coming away from here? Because I've got more notes than I've had in a long time, and they're different notes than usual. A lot of notes are just things that I took away that I thought were pretty cool. What I've got here are notes on things that I want to dig in more on and that I want to take action on myself. So I want to say thanks before we get too far in the call and I forget.
That's amazing. What a compliment. Thank you. That means a lot.
And so, guys, we are in the final 10 minutes. If you've got a question and you're in Zoom or Facebook, put your question down below. Ask anybody on this stage. Deborah, I want to give you the question for Todd, just because, or excuse me, not for Todd, but for Greg, given, everything he's doing as a social media leader, everything you're doing to get loan officers using social and winning with social. Any questions you have or any direction you want to take it in this final 10 minutes?
Well, I do want to point out that y'all did an interview, it was about a year ago. And if you guys haven't watched that, I highly recommend that you do, because some of the things that Greg shared were his mistakes. And so talking about being vulnerable and willing to, share with everyone of like, here's what we tried first and it failed. Like, don't try to get a loan app on everyone who shows interest, or make sure you have your back end set up where you're prepared and start with the end in mind. So if you haven't checked out that interview, make sure you do. And then since that interview, Greg, my question is, any new learnings that have come about in the last year, as there's been a lot of changes, even just with the influencer economy? What are some new learnings that you can share with us?
The number one thing I've learned is that consumers do pay attention. So they know when rates are 8%. You see the applications dry up fast. When the bond drops 40 basis points and all of a sudden rates go from 8 1/8 to 7 3/8 or whatever, it starts to pick up. When rates go below 7%, it starts to pick up. And so we know that we're heading in that direction eventually. A lot of us have armchair quarterbacks that predicted this for a really long time, Deborah, and it hasn't happened yet. That just means that the other side of this is going to be that much more profound, right? So this is the moment right here in this little window to A/B test and build your brand, because it's really going to come into play when the market turns. So the number one thing probably is that these consumers are very smart and very hip to what's going on out there. And I didn't know that at first. I mean, you'd think that, oh, of course they do, right? But in the beginning, 2020, when we opened up the influencer division, rates were great. The leads were flying in. Some videos, we'd get 400 or 500 leads on one video, and they would close fairly easily. But as rates started to creep up, the numbers started to diminish. And as rates started to come down back in last November, the leads started to go back up again. So there is a correlation between the market and the interest that's out there. So if people aren't responding, that's okay. This is the time to hone your craft.
Well, and just to echo the fact that people are more aware because of social media. Like, thank God, to me, social media, if you want to reach younger demographics, like, this is the school that's online that they want to consume and learn on. It's not like when you're forced by the law to go to school to learn about things that you don't care about, and you'd rather be on social. And you can train the algorithms where you can micro learn anything that you are trying to study and want to get better at. That's the beauty of socials. It's like, you used to have to buy expensive tickets and go fly to conferences to learn from Tony Robbins or Bob Proctor. And it's like, now you can learn from Maxwell or whomever, that if you're trying to study, there's not really anything you can't learn. I learned how to cut boys' hair during COVID, thanks to YouTube, So it's kind of like, if you're not on social, what does that say about you and your belief of your own brand? And to me, it's almost selfish to withhold when the information that you have could help, even if it's just one person. Like, forget all the views, the likes, the fault. Like, if that one message that you shared allowed someone to take action and it completely changed the trajectory of their life and future, is that not enough for you?
Yeah, you're almost being selfish. I love how you just positioned that. I've never heard that before. That's so interesting. That could be enough to get some people off the couch.
Yeah.
I want to, before we run out of time, and this is not a plug for NFM because there are plenty of lenders out there like us. Being at a company that embraces this idea that you're the brand is very important. And the fact of the matter is, there are still quite a few lenders that look down upon brands and that don't support
Yes.
that and don't offer any support or encouragement. In fact, they make you send every video in. They beat that to death. Some won't let you do anything.
Takes 3 weeks to get approved.
Yeah, those are dinosaurs. If you're here and at some other places, you actually get treated like an adult. Make your video, hear the rules. No rates, no terms, no conditions. Make sure NMLS is where it belongs, and please behave yourself. Don't curse. Be a good citizen. And we've made millions of videos. Would you believe we've never had one issue, one problem moving forward like that? So CEOs need to really get hip to this, or they're going to start to lose market share as well. They're in the same boat. I would say the same thing to them. If you don't have a real strategy around social and supporting your LOs, you're going to lose them to companies like mine that do. That's very important.
Well, and I think you
Yeah.
just pointed something out, right? I mean, as a loan officer, you have the self-responsibility to understand what are the rules of what you can and can't say. I did a radio show for 5 years, so I had to learn the rules for what I could and couldn't do on the radio. And then, when that shifted to a podcast, what can and can't I do there and on social media? So, if you're a loan officer, ask your company what those rules are. Follow someone like Ken Perry from the Knowledge Coop who talks about these things all the time. But you do have a responsibility to do that. But I do love, Greg, that you pointed out that you guys fully support it. I think that is right. There's definitely more the exception than the rule. I know Deb I hear Deb stories all the time of loan officers and their struggles.
So send them my way, man. I mean, we'll wrap our arms around them, put them in the Creator Collective Plus, coach the hell out of them, and get everything out of them that is intended, to get them to their destination. You got it. This is the future. It is the future. This is how we're going to communicate with the next homeowners. And if you're going to do that, be a part of First Home IQ. Get a hold of that library. Understand the ways that you can deliver value when it comes to financial literacy, and be okay with the fact that you're going to be talking to people much earlier on in the process, because that's who these people are. They're not ready tomorrow, like the lead that you just got from your realtor, and that's okay. Because if you're doing the things we're telling you to do, you're going to be a leader. You're going to be on the forefront of this movement anyway. You're going to be so far ahead of everybody else when the industry wakes up. It's not even going to be funny. So this has been a real honor. I appreciate all the time.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation. Todd, why don't you do the win by noon wrap up and help everybody make this actionable win by noon style?
Well, I mean, Greg already said it. He said it all begins with action. And, we've got a great list of questions that you can ask yourself if you rewatch this and take some notes. You've got a great to-do list of action items that have been suggested by all four of us today. And think about what resonates with you, right? What's that passion lane that Greg talked about that you feel comfortable getting out there and talking about day in and day out? Because ultimately, if you pick the thing you're passionate about, it's not that difficult to actually talk about it, right? When I was all over the place with the things that I was talking about, if I'm talking about something weird, guess what? If it's not truly going to resonate with me, I'm just trying to think of something that might be interesting to somebody else. It was hard to talk about. Once I've gotten laser focused on the things that are important to me, that made me who I am, that I've seen it help improve others and their businesses and lives, that's what's fun to talk about. And it's really easy to do it. I don't have to think that much. I just have my little reticular activator up. It's making notes, and I've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different things that I wrote down to myself that I can actually make videos about just from the things that I heard here on this call today, including the fact that, it's the How Did I Get Here series that Greg's gonna inspire me to do, and that's got at least 15 different videos already tied to that. And so there's just not that much if you just start listening for the clues in life, right? What are the things that your clients say about you to you after they're done that they appreciated about you, and talk about those things. And then, at some point, then what Greg also called out was talking about the things that didn't go as well. And there's no doubt, right? We all learn from our failures more than we learn from our successes. And it's really helpful, I think, when you do share that with others. And you got to have thick skin with that. Luckily for me, I got pretty thick skin now, because ultimately I know that that'll always help others. So as always, it's an honor to be here on a Friday with all of you, and just grateful for this crew here today.
Beautiful, Todd. Deborah, any closing thoughts?
Mine would be for those who struggle with getting started. Sometimes it's easier to think about if you have kids and your great, great, great grandchildren whom you may never meet. If they wanted to learn from you, thanks to social media, they could go to your social channels. And so what would you want them to be able to learn about you or from you, even when you're long gone? And this is playing like a bigger brand legacy game. So maybe start there.
Cool. Greg, any final thoughts?
I just had a great time. I just want to thank you all for what you're doing for the industry and for the opportunity for my voice to be heard. It means the world to me.
All right. So guys, to me, the closing thought is leadership by example. What Greg's doing, he's calling the industry out to lead. He's calling other leaders out to lead. And how's he doing that? He's leading by example. So if you are a producing branch manager on this call, you are a leader, lead by example. I mean, that's why a week ago, I tried to talk to 100 people in a single day. I talked to 81 people in a single day. And yes, I did it because I wanted to generate some leads. I did it because I wanted to improve my own calluses of sales leadership. But I really did it to lead by example. Like Shayla Gifford did the 100 Impact 100 the week before. And I literally woke up the next morning going, Shayla doesn't need to be doing that, but she's leading by example. Guys, we can't control rates. We can only control our activities. So lead by example. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate everybody. Take care. This is a wrap.
Good seeing you all.